God, you make. God, you make. God, you make all things new.
All right, there was a little delay there. What's up, guys? I'm David Glenn from the Mix Academy. Some of you guys already know that. You're kind of funneling in here. We'll see if we can get some viewership going on. It's been a minute. Been dealing with some health stuff, but I'm just going to keep fighting to come back and deliver some awesome content for you guys here. So Above Worship, I want to give a shout out to these guys, All Things New, my friend Dominic, for sharing the files with us. We're going to play a before and after. I'm going to let you hear that. I'm going to play the raw bass. We're talking low end today. We're going to look at the processing. We're going to talk about automation, how to help a bass just blossom at the chorus, right? And become big and full, and then maybe even shrink it a bit. I kind of gave it away. We're going to talk automation on the bass. We're going to talk about editing, sidechain. I'm going to show you kind of one of the maybe more pro tips or expert tips in dealing with low end is your transients with the kick and the bass. And so when you mix them to be big, full, there's some drawbacks that you got to be aware of. Just like when you compress a vocal, right? You get spitty and S's and all that. Anyways, so what are we talking about here? We've got a mix contest we are running with this song, but before we get into those details, let's take a listen. We're talking about the bass. Let's play the bass raw, and then we'll play the mixed bass here. Okay, so we got some clanginess going on, but real simple there. We'll pick another spot, but here's the mixed. Yeah, way more locked in. Now, when I got this song, I've talked about this a couple of times in some of my emails to my email list. Check that out if you want to join. We get the headphone mixing blueprint we'll point you to. And also the free multi-tracks for this mix. But when I first pulled the mix up, you can see here the bass was playing the whole time. You've got these kind of clangy parts. This come out where it's just lots of dynamics. And so clearly just feels like a bass plugged into a DI, which is totally cool. But performance-wise, it just sounds like we had one person go from start to finish like a rehearsal at church. And so when I got it, I was like, okay, so we need editing. First of all, got to edit our tracks, and boy, did we need editing. And so we did that for the bass, tightened him up right up to the kick, almost no flub from the artifacts. Maybe here's a little tip too, is before you commit your processing with the edits, you can go ahead and make a backup, and I have an example I can show you that we can take a look at that. But you can see this first hit is off, causing all kinds of problems. I was banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what's going on. And then when I isolated the kick and the bass, I finally heard what was. We'll show you that too. But it needed work, right? And so it took the time to edit it, clean it up. And let's listen to a couple lines out here that are a little more dynamic, be a little better example. Softens. Cool. So pretty straightforward. Let me pull up the chat here, see if anyone's hanging out with us. But dynamically, just all over the place. Let me show you what my first move is usually, especially if it's just a DI. If we don't have any compression at all, the number one thing I'm going to hit, and actually I think the Pro Q is not even doing anything with that at all. So we could turn that off. But Saturn, FabFilter Saturn, and this is version 2, man, what a tool. Use this on everything, but especially bass. It's just number one on bass. And so what I do with it is I break it into like a multi-band setting here. So we come in here and we look at the different bands. We got a sub band, we'll call it, kind of the low mids, the mids, and then stuff that we don't want. Up here you can see is muted. And so what I'll do is I start in the low band. I'll find a section of the bass that's really pumping, that really needs a lot of energy, needs a lot of low end. Usually the last chorus, something like that. And I'm going to loop it. And then I'll come in here and Saturn you think of for its drive, the amp tones, the saturation, distortion, the crazy modulation and automation stuff you can do with this stuff when you really get into the weeds with it. But one of the most overlooked features is this dynamics knob right here. And what I do is I do the opposite of what you might do for like a snare drum when you want to tame bleed. I want to just blossom the bottom end. And so we're going to increase the sustain of the different bands one at a time. So depending upon the song, the key, whatever's going on with the bass, is it programmed? Is it live? Is it both? That's fun. Teach you how to do that inside of Mixing Modern Worship. I'll do a shameless plug there, show you how to break down kind of that Cody Carnes sound of, what is the song? Be Glad, I think. And the subs come in. It's nasty. I'll show you how to recreate that in the box. But Saturn 2, looking at this here, getting distracted, I'm boosting that to the right. And so we're going for more sustain. And we're going quite a bit. I'm going to show it to you here on this one. It kind of lands in the kind of 2 to, 4 o'clock range usually, but individually. And you can see in the mid-range for this particular bass, maybe even like rock bass, punk bass, pop punk, that stuff. When I want more mid-range, first I'm going to hit it with this, and then I may even do an 1176 to bring out the mid-range, that pick, right? Plucking the string, getting that aggressive character to come forward in the mix. In this case, I did pull it forward, but it's finger-picked. You can hear he's just kind of grooving with it. So we're doing a little bit more there to even out that mid-range. So what I want to do, I'm going to turn everything off for you. We'll even turn off our side chain. And what we'll do is we'll hit play, and you'll hear, let's go to a section where there's a little more going on. Right here at the halfway point of the chorus, we'll solo it. And here is the bass with Saturn on, and then I'll take it off. Rounder, fuller, more even, consistent, less dynamic, less clangy, one plugin. And so we just rounded that off and treated it with some serious love, we'll say, before we move on, is this bass automation, because what the stink, we're taking low end out of a bass. So let's come to somewhere where it's playing, driving a little bit more. First up, maybe it makes sense of this raw bass. I almost never have that in my session, but I pulled that in for you guys to show the example. Let's pull this down. We're going to look at the bass DI. I usually have the bass DI, and then I'll have the bass amp, and then I have the two of them meet at a bass level track. And that's where I can automate the amp on or off, or volume up and down depending upon the section. Maybe I throw a crazy Chris Greeley, lion-esque monster bass, fuzz distortion thing happening, and I automate that. That all happens here, but then those meet at the bass level. And that's where I hit it with final compression, usually, EQ, whatever. But that's also where I'm going to sidechain and automate from. And one of the automation moves that I made on this song was to actually, I'll pull it up here, you can see it again, is to reduce the bottom end in the beginning of the song, in the verses, and then you turn this off and the subs just go nuts, right? Like it just fills the room. And so let's come over to a section. This would be a section where it's on, and that's going to cut it for the verses. So here we'll come out of let's come out of that first chorus. So you'll hear the subs, which means this EQ is turned off. And then going into the verse, it's going to turn it on. It's going to tighten it up. We'll even solo it for now, and then we'll play it in context with the mix. Okay, if you couldn't feel a difference in the low end in that, then man, we got to check your room treatment, your headphones, your headphone calibration. Check out the headphone mixing blueprint, because I'm going to take you through my setup, my gear, the plugins, actually free calibration tool that I use that you can get for free. There's a guy over on Reddit. He's got a whole collection that I highly recommend you check out. But links for that in the description. But if you didn't hear a difference, you need to hear a difference. And so we got to get that fixed for you first and foremost. Now, moving forward, let's check out here. We're going to hear the same thing again. This is going to be in, and then it's going to come back full bass. Cool. Now, bass is pretty lame, and this is only mix 1 for me. I don't know how much I played at the beginning, but I've got my own mix notes. The artist already released this, and I actually got to get in touch with them because my mix, the way I printed it, it was just my mix 1, so I wasn't as focused on all the things for mastering, right? And so we got a couple things we got to fix. I gotta email him and stop that so we can correct that. But anyways, mix 1, this is where we're at. I do want to add a bass amp. I do want to see, does it fit to have a growling, bass at some point, maybe the last chorus or something. Maybe not that song, but I like it, so we're going to try it. But we'll come back to bass amp maybe in another video. It will definitely be included in the full course, the full mix breakdown that I'll point you to down in the description. So this bass gets thinner, and then it gets bigger. Here we go again. This is a full mix now, where we're coming out of the verse into the chorus, if I remember right.
Mighty works of your hands, you make all things new. God, you make all things new. You make all things new. God.
So that's pretty cool. We got the bass is thin in the pre-chorus, and then bam, it hits and it's full. Dynamics. That's what I was going to say with the autism. That's hilarious. I'm going to keep this in here. I'm going to keep it live, but we're going to talk about that. This is where I was going with that, was the clanginess and the raw. If we pull that back in for a second, the clanginess and the dynamics of it, that coming through and poking like every now and then or whatever drives me nuts. And so I got to make sure all the transients are intact. And I just sent an email today actually touching on that, because you can get so focused on the technical and those things matter, but you lose focus maybe on like the emotional or the connection, and that's where tidying up and transients that are poking through, they're causing distractions to our worship. We can't be having all these loose hits and things like that happening, and we're trying to get in the presence of the Lord. We want to make sure people have a smooth experience, that we get out of the way, so to speak. You hear a pretty trendy term, right? It's kind of cliche to say that, but it's so true. And with the bass, for me, that was one of the things that I heard when I boosted the raw. It was just kind of clanging, and then it would disappear. And so got pretty aggressive with the processing, but I think we accomplished what we were after. And so now, is there any bus processing? Yes. So let's talk about that. Down here on my low-end bus, which is where my bass guitar will go, I've got the virtual mix bus, and I'm hitting it pretty hard. Let's check this out.
All things new. You make all things new. God, you make all things new.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but did you hear any distortion in the overall mix whenever I just blasted it and drove into virtual mix bus? You saw the needle was already pegged, right? I drove into it. Did you hear the distortion? There may be distortion, but did you hear it? So let's go check out. We'll see in solo what we got going on. Nothing wrong with listening to things in solo. Yeah. And, we don't want that necessarily, but I was going to add an amp tone, and that kind of gives it some attitude, so that could be cool. But if you don't hear it in the overall mix, is kind of my point. Man, don't be afraid to slam bass a little bit and give it some more compression, aggression, saturation, mid-range. I remember seeing CLA at, what year was it? 2014 at NAMM in Anaheim. I think it was 2014, 2015. My man Joey Fernandez, that was the year we met in person. Been friends many, many years, and that was the only time we actually been in person together. CLA did an exhibition or whatever, and he talked about when you've boosted 10 dB or 15 dB, I may be misquoting him, but he's like, if you don't hear it, it's not enough. Maybe it needs 20 dB. Essentially, it was a conversation about mid-range with a bass, especially in like rock, especially worship. If not, you're not getting the pick, you're not getting the detail, you're not getting the drive. A lot of worship, we have these, driven. Love it. But anyways, I'm blabbing, man. Let's hit play again. Let's see what this sounds like with it driven. I'll put it back. Okay, so there's no audible distortion, and it's pegged. Don't look at it. Drive it until you think it sounds good, and then walk away from it. But that's my my low-end bus, where the bass is getting that. And then, of course, the bass is hitting the mix bus, which is getting all this stuff in here. I'll show you. I'm using VMR again, and I'll very carefully gain stage that. It's nice that they added these output trims down here. That'll be useful in future mixes. We've got the BX Townhouse. How much reduction are we doing on here? Probably.
You make all things new. You make all.
Yeah, not very much on this one. And I did do something a little different. I use heat a little more aggressively this mix. And I think I can hear it, and I like it. Goldfoss, using that since they sent it to me. I don't know. It's been a minute, but I love this thing. A couple years for sure. So if you haven't already checked that out, man, that's a no-brainer. Got to have Goldfoss. Love that thing. Slate, we got this. This is my mix bus template video. I've got a whole thing breaking that down here on the channel. You can go check that out. One more low end. I love low end. I mix with a sub pack for a reason. I don't know. It's like a heavy blanket to my autism, and it helps me mix the low end like a boss. I feel like I can really push low end and get a lot of it, and then control it and maintain it with sidechain compression. And really, I love making sure low end is nice and big and full. And so I wanted to add a little bit more, but I won't blab about the rest of this stuff. It's kind of similar to other things I've shown on the channel. We got K-Clip going into my man Dave over at Isotopes and over the new one, and so rocking that. And I did try RRC 5 on this one, and I really liked it. I love 4, Modern and Transient, a ton. 1 and 2 are really cool. Use those a lot. But 5 is, I think, the first one to have multi-band behind the scenes going on, and I really dug it for this song. I was going for, so I thought that was a cool one, and it worked out for us. A couple cool things we're doing. We're automating one knob pressure in the beginning, I think, right? Let's go check that out. Yep, so it's on here. The keyboard shortcut is not working. Oh, yeah, it is. It's right there. Wrong track. I was looking at the wrong one. Mix A down here. So we have pressure pulling up the initial.
Before I could see it, you were there fighting for me. Before I believed in you, God, you believed in me. When I had a problem, God had a plan. So I'll trust the works of your hands. You make all things new. God, you make all things new. You make all things.
And that's just the first chorus. We gotta dial back a little bit for the first one so that we have something to build on for the second and the third. So, hey man, thanks for hanging out with me. You guys, a couple of you that were live with me, appreciate you so much. Hallie, bro, I'm sorry. Hallie, my friend, Witness to Light Music, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And you guys interested, it's free mix contest. You get the multi-tracks. Check the link out in the description. And let me know if you guys have any questions about future videos. Drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. See you soon.